All right, let's talk about temptation. We all know that feeling, right? That little voice in your head telling you to eat one more cookie or skip the workout or just click add to cart. We usually kind of laugh about it. I mean, the great Mae West just nailed our everyday view of it. I generally avoid temptation unless I can't resist it. It's hilarious because it feels so true. We think of it as this simple tug of war between what we want and what we should do. But what if that's not the whole story? What if that's just scratching the surface? What if temptation is actually something much, much deeper? A force that gets right to the core of who we are. To really get what I mean, we need to go back, way back. We're going to look at a tale of two tests, two huge foundational stories that give us this incredible contrast. One takes place in a lush garden, the other in the middle of a barren wilderness. And what we see here is this amazing flip of the script. So in the Garden of Eden, the serpent barely says anything, just a couple of questions, but they're enough to plant these little seeds of doubt, right? And Adam and Eve start questioning everything. But then you fast forward to the wilderness, Jesus is tempted to prove who he is, and he sees the trap. He just refuses to play the game. He completely reverses that original pattern. So what's the real link between these two moments? Well, the key isn't about forbidden fruit or turning stones into bread. It's hidden in the real meaning of a single ancient word. The word we use for the tempter. In both stories, that tempter is called the devil. And look, I know what you're picturing. Red suit, pitchfork, the whole deal. But just for a second, let's push that cartoon image aside. Because if you go back to the original Greek, the word is diabolos, and it literally means to throw apart, to split. This is a game changer. It reframes the tempter not as some evil character, but as a force, a fundamental force of division. And once you see that, the definition of temptation totally changes. Temptation is simply whatever splits us. It's the force that pulls you away from your truest self. It's what divides you from your life's purpose, what separates you from your community, what disconnects you from your creator. It's a loss of wholeness. Now, here's where it gets really fascinating. This splitting force, it doesn't just pull us in one direction. It actually shows up in our lives in two incredibly powerful and completely opposite ways. Okay, so the first one is the temptation to make ourselves the absolute center of the world. You know, the temptation to inflate our ego, to puff ourselves up. The writer Frederick Buechner put it perfectly. He said this force is centrifugal. Think of like a spinning ride at the fair that pushes you to the outer wall. It pushes everyone and everything away from you, to the edges, until there's nothing left in the middle but a big, hollow space, and all you have to fill it with is yourself. It's a deep loneliness that's disguised as self-importance. The thinker Dietrich Bonhoeffer made this really crucial distinction. He said, "This is the temptation to live at the center, where you think the whole universe revolves around you, instead of living from a center, where you draw your strength from a deeper place of purpose and connection." Huge difference. But here comes the twist. There's another temptation, one that pulls in the exact opposite direction, and it is just as dangerous. It's the danger of playing small, the temptation to diminish who we are. As the monk Thomas Merton once wrote, the biggest human temptation is to settle for too little. It's that nagging voice that tells you to just conform, that you're not good enough, that you should just shrink yourself down to fit in. There's this one story that just brings this to life so powerfully. It's about a man who was a musician in his soul. That's who he was. But he spent his entire life, 35 years, selling furniture in a department store. So when he finally retired, the only thing he wanted was to buy the simple, beat-up chair he'd sat in for all those decades. He took it to his son's house, put it in a room, and made his son promise him one thing. "You will never, ever sit in this chair." He told his son, "Don't you dare sit down in life, because everyone, your whole life, is going to tell you to just sit down, be quiet, don't expect too much. I'm telling you, stand up, go create things, go do things." What an incredible warning against that temptation to just settle. And that story connects so directly to that famous passage from Marianne Williamson, the one Nelson Mandela even quoted. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Think about that for a second. Sometimes the biggest, scariest temptation is to run away from our own light, from our own potential. Because as that quote goes on to say, your playing small does not serve the world. Diminishing yourself isn't being humble. No, it's giving in to a temptation that robs you and the world of the unique gift you have to give. So you see, we've got these two massive temptations pulling at us. The urge to inflate ourselves into everything and the urge to diminish ourselves into nothing. Both are just different tactics of that same splitting force. The real journey, then, is about resisting that split and finding our way back to being whole.
So how do we actually do that? Well, it seems to start with being honest. First, you just have to identify which way you tend to lean. Are you more of an inflator or a diminisher? Second, when you feel that pull, name it. See it for what it is, a splitting force trying to pull you apart. And finally, you have to find what makes you brave. The people, the purpose, the healing you need to stay whole.
And that really leaves us with one last question to take with you. Which force pulls on you more? The need to be everything or the fear of being anything at all? Answering that for yourself, well, that's the first real step toward resisting the split and finding your way back to whole.